So we need to fix our relationship. And he's the master craftsman who will mold us and make us, if we will. And as we venture more into this marriage, ministry, money, will be growing more and more. Now, I'm not sure how much time I still have. Maybe this may be a good segue. If
Yes, absolutely. My goodness. Maybe we should have you back on day 10 to come and finish this. This is really, really important. If you have time, maybe that's what we should do. Come back for day 10, because there is so much to be gleaned out of this. But I also want to make sure that we have answered some questions while we are still online. You had already you pretty much preemptively answered most of the questions that had come in. Most of those questions were in relationship to the diaspora, living in the diaspora while you are leaving your spouse back home, and then you going into the diaspora for the benefit of working on the family's financial status. That was a big what that question kept coming in, and someone even said, intellectually and spiritually, I know that the word of God tells me that I cannot serve God and mammon, but the world revolves on money. The world revolves on money. So what am I to do if where I am economically is not healthy? What's And then someone was also asking, what good is it for us to be in the same space but poor? What good is that marriage? Can you please speak to that person? Says, what good is that marriage if all we are doing is stressed with one another in the same space because of this thing of Pastor Joseph put it this way. He says the marriage, you cannot have marriage by correspondence. You cannot have marriage by correspondence. So if you cannot have marriage by correspondence, but there are needs, we have specific physical needs that we have. Our children need school fees, we need to pay our mortgage or our rent, we need to eat. What good is it for me to stay with my spouse, being together? Yes, like you encouraged your relative in Canada, we are together, but we are starving. How do you answer to that?
you know, let me answer it this way. I think I'll answer it in one way and then answer it also in a way that I'm not saying. Okay. Here's the thing. That question in itself, I think the person who is in that situation, the first thing they may, or one of the things they may need to consider is this. If you are saying money is that important, okay, maybe let me put it this way. That question is suggesting that the relationship with the money is now overtaking the relationship of marriage. Because if you're going to say, what good is it that we stay together when we have no money? What you are saying is the thing that's now higher priority than money. Okay. So that doesn't mean that money is not important, but that means your relationship with the money at that time, just like in that example I used, when I used the example of somebody stealing, is that at that time when you're making that decision, you are saying that your relationship with money is superior to all these other relationships. Because if it was not, then you would not do those things. So if somebody is in a situation where money is tight and they want to make some changes, there are ways that people can change. Remember, we talked about becoming one. There are ways that people can make changes and still building on their marriage. Here's what often happens. I believe that often is not proper. You can provide, or you can't provide. Then the one who cannot provide is like starts saying, well, okay, but if I go to such a place, then I can provide. Then it's no longer a matter of what is in the best interest of our marriage. We're now saying what is in the best interest of money. And then you start making it. So you can have the same activity. Okay, you can have the same activity, but very different results. Let me take an example. Say somebody is in Zimbabwe, and then their spouse goes to London to better some things, whether it's education or work, and the other stays behind. That can be done in a way that also blesses both of them, because they are all and they plan to be together soon, not just an open-ended. Okay, somebody, hey, look, you say I don't want mine. Okay, I'm going to go, because sometimes people just, it's like they force the issue. I've heard of situations where couples, where one spouse says, you know, this is what we're doing, and then the next day, my wife or my husband comes with a ticket and say, well, you know what, I've done this and that, now I've got a ticket, I'm leaving next week. I'm leaving next week. Well, no, but we had not decided to do this and this. No, I'm leaving. I mean, so there's some people who do things in a way that's almost like they are fighting. Or I'm trying to prove a point. They go into their selfish places where, okay, I'm going to prove myself to my spouse financially. How about proving yourself to your spouse relationally, lovingly, not financially? People, too many spouses are ready to prove themselves monetarily more than lovingly. That's where there's often an issue. But pursuing opportunities, by all means. But again, if we're saying that we're ministering and we're Christ followers, the question I would ask the person to ask themselves, the couple to ask themselves, is it God who's opening that way for you? Are you following God's will for your life by making that shift? Is it reflecting God as number one priority? Your marriage is number two priority.
Thank you. You know, Pastor VK, sorry, Pastor Elizabeth just gave me a point that I want to point out. She says it also depends what this person means by being poor. Is it not the desire for wanting too many riches, which is taking over their relationship? So there's also a need to put things in perspective.
Most definitely, because again, it comes to the relationship. If it happens sometimes in life, you could be at a certain level of income or worth or of wealth, and things can happen, and you may lose some of that wealth.
Yes.
Now the question is, how do you take that loss? We have a good example of Job. He was a wealthy man, and he lost the wealth. But when he did lose the wealth, he did not lose his priority for God. So too frequently, when people lose wealth, they then shift, like in Matthew 6:24. When they lose wealth, then they serve mammon and despise God. Because sometimes they'll be saying, well, it is God's fault that he did not protect me from this law. So now I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. And now I'll serve mammon. And which also is why in that Matthew 6:24, where he says he will hold to the one and despise the other.
Yes.
So in that case, I've lost wealth, I've lost mammon. Then you despise God, then you pursue mammon. And then obviously that becomes preeminent. And then God values, marriage values are now down below. Mammon value or money value is now at the top. Now, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It should work in the Christian context.
Yeah.
And remember also, you choose your bills. Everyone chooses their bills. What bills you have in a month, you choose them. Always remember that they don't choose you, you choose them.
Amen.
So if you're going to say my rent is $500, you chose that. If my rent is $2,000, you chose that. So as you choose, as you make your choices, remember your relationship with God, your relationship with your spouse, and your relationship with Mammon.
Wow.
And make sure you choose wisely.
Oh, Mkoma VK, this is oh my God. I want to encourage those that are in Zoom with us. If you want to unmute yourself and make a comment or give a question, by all means do that. We can do that in the next 5 to 6 minutes, and then we close out. But my goodness, powerful, powerful teaching, Mkoma VK. Thank you so much. I think it's worth you coming back, because there are questions about abuse within the leadership of the church, of marriages where spouses are abusing one another. This whole idea also of this idea of you are leaving your spouse and going to another country to find to get to cement, or rather to grow your financial status, is also can also be a form of abuse. Right. And so we want to come back and talk about abusive relationships within the pastoral. I think that deserves a session of its own. So I'm going to just put it out there, but I want us to come back and do that, because it's very important that we talk about that. And so I'm going to open up. Anyone who wants to say something, please unmute yourself or lift up your hand and say what you need to say concerning what Mkoma Vicky just taught us. And yes, Pastor, go ahead, Pastor Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Pastor T. Just a few minutes, a few seconds of everyone's time. I personally want to say thank you for the profound teaching that you have given. To summarize what you were saying, based on the question that came from our beloved about should we stay together in one place and we are poor, that one really touched me so hard, because I'm one person who had the privilege of being raised up by parents who did not have money. But my dad vowed that he would never go away and leave my mom to look after us on her own. So as a result, he stuck by his wife and my mom stuck by my dad. With the little that they had, they would use the little to try and make life good for their children. And trust me, those that know our family, we are one fortunate, blessed family that was raised up so well with a lot of love. And as a result, it produced the gems that it produced. And thanks be to my parents. May God rest their souls. Money, lack of money, it does not mean that you are poor, because I was raised by parents who did not have money, but they were not poor, very rich.
Yes,
Amen.
again, goes
Amen.
back to perspective. Great point, Pastor Elizabeth. And some of our generation, we grew up in that generation where our parents did not leave to go to another town or to another city or to another country. As a matter of fact, as we were growing up, those that left to go to another country, when they came back, their marriages were gone. Their marriages had been destroyed. So it comes back again to perspective. Thank you so much for that perspective, Pastor Brown. Another thing that also is a little bit of concern, a little bit concerning for individuals who live on one side of the world and their spouses on another, is as if we are limiting God to say God cannot bless us in the place where we are. Talk about that, Pastor Amkoma VK, real quickly. Are we saying that our financial blessings and our financial breakthroughs are only outside of the borders of where God has placed us? How is God not placed us in that place in the beginning? The fact that we're born in a specific country, yes, people have been given opportunities to travel from one place to another, but at the same time, are we implying that God cannot bless us where we are?
By taking the position that I have to go somewhere and compromise. Now, I think we need to put this in and highlight it this way, and compromise on your relationship with God, and compromise on your relationship with your spouse. When you make that move, you are actually saying that God cannot provide for me. So we're going back to that Matthew 6:24, where I say, you will love one and despise the other. That means you're not despising God. You're saying, no, he's not capable of doing it. Why did he? Because what you may also be saying is, why did he place me in such a place where I am feeling this way, or where I'm like this? Then in your action,